Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Whether you're picking up a hook for the very first time or you've been stitching for years, you are in for a real treat. Today, we're walking step by step through the beginner to intermediate Loomelle Design pattern for two incredibly sweet, posable, seated Amigurumi dolls. This is going to be your comprehensive masterclass, designed to feel just like we're sitting at a table together doing a guided tutorial.
Okay, let's dive right into this because, well, just look at them. This right here is our crafting goal. We're aiming for an adorable girl in a chunky pink dress and a boy in a cozy tan hoodie, both holding these perfectly plump red hearts. When you're all finished, these seated dolls will measure about 8 inches tall. They've got this beautiful, modern plush aesthetic that makes them absolutely perfect for gifts, home decor, or, Valentine's Day. But honestly, the best part, they are completely achievable, even if you are brand new to amigurumi. We are going to build them from the yarn up.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with 1, materials and basics, move to 2, crocheting the heads, then 3, bodies and limbs, 4, hair and accessories, 5, step-by-step assembly, and wrap up with 6, finishing touches.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Materials and Basics, Prepping for Success.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide, and honestly a total game changer for this pattern, is your yarn and hook combo. Gathering the exact right tools is the absolute secret to getting that perfect plush look. You have to follow one crucial rule here. You must use 2 different yarn weights and hook sizes. For the skin, limbs, and hair, you're going to use a standard worsted weight yarn with a 3.5mm hook. But for the clothing, you've got to switch to a chunky velvet or chenille yarn and bump up to a 5.0mm hook. If you try to use standard yarn for the clothes, they're going to look flat and thin, and we don't want that. The velvet yarn is what gives them that soft, puffy appearance. Oh, and you'll also need some 12mm safety eyes, plenty of polyfill stuffing, and just a bit of basic embroidery floss.
Before we start our stitching, here's a quick visual cheat sheet, especially if you're an absolute beginner. We'll be working in continuous rounds, which basically means we just keep spiraling up without joining the rows. You're going to use the magic ring to start, single crochets to build length, and increases to expand outward. But take a look at the DC at the bottom. That's the invisible decrease, where you work only on the front loops. I can't stress this enough. Using the invisible decrease is absolutely vital, especially on the face. It creates this smooth, gap-free surface that keeps all your stuffing hidden inside where it belongs.
Moving right along to Section 2, Crocheting the Heads, the Foundation.
With our tools all prepped, it is fantastic to note that both the boy and the girl start with the exact same 42-stitch head base. So learn it once and you've got both down. Think of the head kind of like a giant puzzle. Well, really a sphere. We build it in 3 micro phases. First, we start with our magic ring and increase for 7 rounds until we hit 42 stitches wide. Then, for rounds 8 through 14, we just single crochet straight around to create the flat height of the face. Finally, we begin decreasing to close up that sphere. But hey, remember to stuff generously and firmly as you decrease. If you wait until the hole is too small, I promise you, your doll's head will end up super lumpy.
Wait, stop right there before you close that head. This is a crucial pitfall highlighted directly in the pattern. You absolutely must place your 12mm safety eyes exactly between rounds 10 and 11 and exactly 8 stitches apart. Why? Well, if you place them too high, your doll gets this strange, startled, wide-eyed look. Place them too low, and the face looks completely squashed. Just stick to this placement, snap those washers on firmly, and your dolls are going to have perfectly sweet, natural proportions.
Next up, Section 3, Bodies and Limbs, Dressing the Couple.
Let's transition to the bodies. This is the exact moment where you switch your hooks and where the magic of that velvet yarn really brings things to life. Grab your 5.0mm hook and your chunky yarn. The brilliant thing about this construction is that the bodies are actually crocheted from the bottom hem upward. You'll leave the neck open at the top, but the bottom hem needs a special little trick. Instead of sewing it flat, you're going to weave a piece of yarn through the bottom edge and pull it tightly, kind of like a drawstring. This gathers the base so the dolls have a nice flat bottom to sit on while conveniently leaving tiny openings on the sides where we'll slot the legs in later. Super clever, right?
Let's take a look at the couple side by side for a second. The girl's body is crafted as one continuous dress in this gorgeous dusty rose velvet paired up with matching pink worsted weight shoes. The boy, on the other hand, has some beautiful, distinct detailing. His torso is totally covered by a camel-colored velvet hoodie, and yes, you can absolutely crochet an adorable optional front pocket for it. The jeans aesthetic comes entirely from his worsted weight legs, and his shoes feature a really cool, clever two-tone toe cap design.
Time to dive into Section 4, Hair and Accessories, Bringing Character.
So we've got our bodies and heads, but now we need to bring the personality.
Both dolls use a crocheted hair cap base that sits on the head, and then we tie individual strands of yarn onto it. So the crucial point here is exactly how you style those strands. The pattern is super specific about this. For the girl, after you attach the long strands, you actually wet them, wrap them around a pencil to dry, and let them hang down in loose waves. Seriously, do not coil them into buns, even if they kind of look like they should be at a quick glance. For the boy, you want dense, messy, chaotic curls. You attach the strands from the back to the top, but make sure to leave the front hairline open so it gives him a really natural, boyish haircut.
And of course, we definitely can't forget their signature accessories, those bright red 3D hearts. Now these aren't just flat little appliques. You'll use your worsted weight yarn to crochet 2 separate little cups, or lobes. Then you slip stitch them together into a figure 8 shape, and you just crochet continuously around both of them, decreasing down until it forms that perfect pointed tip at the bottom.
But again, a quick word of warning straight from the designer. The key to making these hearts look amazing is firm stuffing. You've got to use a pen cap or even the back of your crochet hook to push the polyfill all the way down into the very point before you close those final stitches. If you understuff the heart, it's just going to look limp and flat instead of chunky, vibrant, and bursting with love.
All right, here we go. Section 5, Step-by-Step Assembly.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this is the phase where beginners usually get a little nervous. Assembly is literally what turns your pile of crocheted shapes into a recognizable character. Let's break it down chronologically. First, sew the legs into that gathered drawstring base we made. Double check that the toes are actually pointing forward before you sew. Second, pin the arms at the shoulders, angling them down and slightly forward so they naturally cradle the empty space for the heart. Third, attach the head. And lastly, sew on the ears and the hair cap. Honestly, do yourself a favor and always use straight pins to position everything before sewing a single permanent stitch.
I do want to pause on the head attachment for just a second. This is the single most structurally important joint on the doll. When you whip stitch the head to the body's velvet neck opening, make sure you go around twice for extra stability. Once you're done, set the doll down on the table and look at it from all angles. The head should be perfectly centered and standing upright. If it's tilted to the side or looking down, no worries. Just go back in and add a few reinforcing stitches on the opposite side to pull it perfectly straight.
And finally, Section 6, Finishing Touches, the Spark of Life.
We are in the home stretch. This is the part where tiny embroidery details completely transform your dolls and give them that professional, lively spark. Grab your needle and embroidery floss. For the girl, you're going to stitch a tiny U-shaped smile right below the eyes. For the boy, give him a slightly wider, more open grin. Right above the eyes, add 2 simple diagonal stitches angling inward for some expressive eyebrows. If you want, take a dry cotton swab with just a little pink chalk pastel and gently dab on some soft cheek blush. For the boy, embroider a few little lines of cream floss onto his shoes to look like laces, and then finally, tack those stuffed red hearts right into their arms with a few invisible stitches.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final result. When you bring all these elements together, the hook changes, the perfect eye placement, the patient assembly, this is exactly what you get. If you follow those hook size changes to the letter, respect that eye placement, and put it together carefully, you are going to create this beautiful, perfectly proportioned 8-inch seated amigurumi couple. I mean, they look like they belong sitting in a high-end boutique window.
I really hope this explainer has made this pattern feel completely accessible and fun, whether you're making these cuties for yourself, a friend, or a loved one. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder as you start gathering your yarn. Who will you craft this cozy couple for next Valentine's Day? Grab those 3.5 and 5.0 millimeter hooks, get super comfortable, and happy crocheting!